that there are people in this committee who seem to have taken the view that just because the allegation's been made, it's true, and have besmirched the characters of, whether it's the First Minister or whether it's Frank Cushnan or others, besmirched the characters of people who I hold in high regard.
Okay, but the allegation is obviously serious enough for the NCA to investigate, the FBI to investigate. So that's not to say that any allegations are proven, but you're content that the result of the sale has been beneficial. Winners or losers are beneficial. But if the sale itself was corrupt, then it's not a good sale. Oh, if there's embezzlement and fraud at the heart of the deal, it's not, and that hasn't been proven yet. But if it is, yes, then it's not a good sale.
Well, you're treating it as if it was.
Oh, I'm asking.
I've tried to explain to you that, given the process of the sale, it could not. I mean,
let's come back to that. Let's come back to that.
There would have had to be some manipulation.
Yes,
of the sale.
And of course that's what's being investigated.
And it wasn't.
Well, but that's what's being investigated.
Because NAMA have made it quite clear it was. Well, but it is a fact. I mean, this is not speculation. This is not something which might come out in an investigation. It is a fact that this was done by open tender. Firms could bid for it, and that the best price was the price which was accepted.
And why it's being investigated is because the allegation is that it was not a fair sale, that Cerberus were paying kickbacks to fixers which were illegal, and that therefore the sale on the sale.
Kickbacks for what?
Kickbacks for inside information, kickbacks for introductions to ministers and to other people.
Let's just take that. Let's just take that. Kickbacks for inside information that didn't need inside information, because under the due diligence which would have been required, they were given access to all of the information which NAMA had about the assets which were held. So where's the kickback there?
What's the one piece of information what's the one piece of information Cerberus didn't have in this so-called competitive process with Fortis? One piece of information they didn't have?
Well, I'm sure you're going to tell me. I don't know.
Well, you should know. You're a former finance minister. It was the price to bid, and they bid just £1 million over the asking price. And that's a wonderful coincidence, and no wonder the FBI is investigating. But you put the cuckoo in the nest, because Mr. Cushnan, and you say he should have declared NAMA, and I was trying to find out earlier, have you seen the NAMA correspondence to Mr. Cushnan saying, you didn't declare any of this? They didn't know, and you're saying you declared your interest to Mr. Noonan or whoever it was you were speaking to at the time. But what NAMA is saying that Mr. Cushnan, your cuckoo, never declared his interest in anything, and that's a breach of the law. That's not just bad protocol, that's a breach of the law. Yes. So what we're here to find out is, are you a fool or a knave? Well, why are you defending his sterling job, Mr. Wilson? Because I presume it's because you were played. Because it would be such a terrible fist that we've any politician in this part of the land got any kickbacks or payments for this. It's a fist I won't entertain. But there's no doubt in my mind that other people were getting kickbacks. They were getting sweet.
And I could take lectures from you about kickbacks and about declarations of interest. If you were not sitting here today, having received substantial amounts of money from someone who you have advocated on behalf of on nearly every meeting of this inquiry, and have not, contrary to the rules of this committee,
so back to the question,
have not declared your interest.
You made that point before. So back to the question.
So don't start lecturing me about declarations of interest. As far as I have told you, I have told you the basis. I have told you the basis on which the appointment was made, the criteria which was set, the way in which the individual concerned met the criteria, and as far as I'm concerned, that was therefore a good appointment.
So
you then talk about a corrupt process, and I've explained to you that everybody had access.
Yeah,
and this was explained to the Public Accounts Committee in Dublin. Everybody had access to the data room, or whatever they called it, so that they could see what assets were held by NAMA, and that's where they got their information from. They didn't need to get information from any other source. So don't try to make a story where there's no story.
Well, that's been investigated by the FBI, Mr. Wilson, because there is a belief that Suffin was a ray in that so-called competitive process. And why did Fortress and a gentleman you and I both know in New York, why did he underbid? Because he believed there was something wrong with this deal. So there's only two bidders. One knew to bid £1 million ahead, and the sale would be done. But back to this, I believe you were played like a violin.
Well,
let me just finish. You were played. You said that, oh, no one asked me to do particular favours for builders. You wouldn't do anything appropriate. I appreciate that. But you were played. You were brought to the PIMCO meeting. PIMCO with the First Minister. They thought they were being feted for this deal. And I'm not saying that you knew what you were getting into, but the cuckoo organised the meeting, brought you to the meeting. What a wonderful meeting to be brought to Stormont Castle with the First Minister and the Finance Minister to discuss a deal. PIMCO then say, we thought we were being feted. They then want to make a bid for it. Then they say, hold on, we're paying a £5 million kickback to Mr Cushnan. Our due diligence people won't let us do that. The thing moves on. Mr Cushnan retires from the NI Advisory Committee, and then the final bid come in, and then we find out that there's something wrong with this final bid because Surplus say, we didn't know that 7 million of that was going back to people who about whom there's a question mark. I'm not even making an allegation because Mr Cushnan is denying he's one of the recipients of the 7 million.